welcome to Gas. There you go. There you go. I'm excited to be here with you guys. My name is Jason Fernandez. Everybody calls me Fern. Been part of the CrossFit community for years. My other two partners, Marcus and Jay, will be here a little bit this afternoon, but we started Best Hour of Their Day almost exactly 5 years ago. Hit record on a podcast, and then has evolved into a bunch of other stuff, doing what we all love doing anyway, which is helping the CrossFit community. So it's really cool to see a bunch of very familiar faces in here, people that I've known for a long time, boxes that we've worked with over the years. So excited to come here and chat with you guys. So I'm going to cover a couple different things, but the topic for today is going to be essentially growth of your gym and what it would look like to 2x your gym without necessarily having to 2x the leads when you're coming in. Just a couple different things. Just our mission statement. This is really important to us, and we believe CrossFit is the best thing to happen in the fitness industry, and we're committed to doing everything possible to make CrossFit affiliates the premier centers of impact around the world. And that is our number one core value: affiliates first. And this is really important for me personally to convey to you guys, is that we don't do anything unless we know for a fact that it is directly beneficial to you. I still own my affiliate. CrossFit Right's been open for 15 plus years. I still go there every single day. Like, I am not an absentee gym owner. It's really, really important to me that we don't just take good ideas and flippantly throw them at affiliates, because I know how supremely annoying that is. So it's really, really important to us that you guys know that that's something that we take very strong consideration when we discuss anything, whether it's a topic or we teach things. We are part of the Affiliate Partner Network, so just so you guys know, anybody that's in the coach development or part of Affiliate University, there are CEUs there for anybody that is in that credential pipeline. Anybody across a level 3 trainer? Full extension of the elbow, people? Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. So that is something that is beneficial to you guys, and we're constantly trying to find ways to help people keep those credentials intact. Just a little bit about us. So between the three of us, Jay, Marcus, and I, worked with over 2,500 affiliates in that time frame. Marcus has been in that space longer than the rest of us. But we custom design and build coach development and business development strategies for box owners. Coached a ton of athletes, worked a ton of seminars. All that really means, the reason I put that up there is just means we've made a ton of mistakes along the way, and we don't want you guys to make those because you don't have to. This is not like 2007 where everybody was just kind of winging it and trying to figure it out on their own. There are principles, there is a roadmap for this, and you don't have to make all the mistakes, some of which I'm going to talk about, the ones that I've made here over the years. A little bit about my CrossFit journey. Started in 2007. Was with Chuck yesterday and some other trainers, and there's a lot of reminiscing at a CrossFit HQ trainer summit over the last 2 days in Atlanta, and just really cool to go down memory lane talking about training and when everybody started. And then in 2019, we started Best Hour of Their Day. So let's get into this. So I started the box in 2009 after I started CrossFit in 2007, and in 2015, I kind of had some life circumstances that kicked in and realized I don't know what I'm doing. I have no concept of what I'm doing. Like, the box had been open 6 years, mind you, at that point. It took me 6 years to come to the realization. I'm like, oh, you don't know anything. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to start learning some stuff and getting into all of this. And this is kind of what I describe as the age of leads. This is when, a lot of the paid lead gen started to come onto the market. And for the record, I have no beef with paid lead gen. I want to make that very clear. Paid lead gen is a thing. When done very well, it is an accelerator for your gym. But nobody talks about the downfalls or order of operation if you're going to step into that world, because it is like going to the casino and making bets on games that you don't know how to play. Okay? And that's really, really important to understand. So in 2017, I thought I was smart, and I started 3 new businesses that year. I was like, oh, I started learning some things. I'm like, I'm going to do this. 100% of them failed. Statistically, that's impressive, to be honest with you, right? Started 3 new businesses, like, dude, I'm gonna crush it. Got way out over my skis, and for lack of better terms, ate shit hard, okay? Like, really, really hard. That's what that looks like. I lost well over 6 figures in that year, to the point I thought I was gonna have to shut everything down. Right. Now, the plus side of that is I came to the realization, I was like, oh, you can fail really aggressively and still survive, but it is painful, okay? And these are the things that I don't want people to have to do, because I already did it. So I legitimately lost 6 figures in that endeavor, right? To the point where my wife's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, clearly a lot, liquidated half of our retirement in that process trying to extend ourselves in capital, and ended up in a 3-year lawsuit with one of the landlords that I was involved with. Okay, so these are the things I'm trying to convey to people so that you can avoid those, because there are some misconceptions or misunderstandings about what it looks like to grow your affiliate. Okay, and most of you in this room know fitness better than anybody, right? If you are even dabbling in this CrossFit space, you know how to make people fit. And newsflash, a lot of the same principles that we preach in CrossFit carry directly over into fitness. And the problem was I skipped the basics. No different than the athletes that are huge, we like to call them their PETAs, a pain in the ass. Okay, those athletes at your gym, they skip the basics, right? They've been there for a month and like, hey, I think I'm gonna start 2-a-days. And I'm like, we should talk, okay? A lot of box owners, myself included, we get into that same routine. We're like, hey, you start to get a little good at something. You're like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this really advanced technique. And the same issue is going to happen to you as a box owner as it will to that athlete. Something's gonna break. You're gonna get injured. The injuries in business look different than training, but make no mistake, they're both injuries. And it's this, I need more leads. Now, to create clarity and context on this, you may need more leads. There are definitely scenarios in which a box owner needs more leads. That is absolutely a thing. What I will tell you, between Marcus and Jay and I, and working with hundreds and hundreds of affiliates, and we only work with CrossFit affiliates, far more often than not, that is not actually the root cause of the problem. Again, I'm not saying that they don't need more leads, but this is like saying I need more volume when you don't know how to move well. Right? You might need more volume, but first you need to know how to move well. And that's really when we start thinking about order of operations when we're working with affiliates. So just to give you guys some context here, this is, on the left, this is the theoretical hierarchy for the development of an athlete that Coach Greg Glassman made in 2002 when he wrote the What is Fitness article. Nutrition, metabolic conditioning, gymnastics, weightlifting, and throwing, and at the top is sport. We like to say it's the best version of you when we're thinking about the affiliate or the seminar context. On the right, a couple years ago when I was trying to think how to overlap these pieces, that's the theoretical hierarchy for developing your affiliate. And all of these things coincide. So nutrition is just like sales, and what I mean by nutrition is like sales, both quality and quantity matter, okay? The quality of the sales that you make or the leads that you interact with and the quantity matter, just like in food. Just above that, metabolic conditioning, that's the operations. That's the boring stuff inside of the business that fuels everything else. On top of that, marketing and gymnastics are similar because everybody knows that you should do more gymnastics, but nobody actually wants to spend the time to learn how to do it. It just looks cool, right? Same thing in marketing, okay, for gymnastics. Above that, weightlifting and throwing, that's similar to coaching and service because everybody says they're good at it. Very few people are actually good at it, okay? And at the top, impact. Impact is really important. And when we talk about impact, if you leave this whole weekend with nothing else, leave with this. And when we say impact, we mean a 360-degree impact, meaning you, your staff, and the clients that you serve. If any one of them are underserved at any time, something is going to break. If the coaching staff is happy and the box owner is broke, that's going to break. If the members are happy and they're abusing services at the gym and the staff is overworked and the gym owner is broke, something's going to break. If the box owner is killing it and they're raking in cash and everybody is on a barter program as a coaching staff, that is going to break. Okay? I could give you any number of scenarios in which one of those three people or groups of people being underserved will create a long-term problem for you. And I get a lot of pushback on the sales piece. We're like, no, service should be at the bottom. And I'm like, I'm not disagreeing with you that service is important. It's absolutely important. And this is why I always make a joke. I'm like, people don't understand pyramids, okay? When we put sales at the bottom, it's not because it's the most important, it's because it's the one that creates the most stability. Most of the pain points inside of the business that you have, whether you're a nutrition coach or whether you're running a box or anything like that, are gonna be due to cash flow, right? Having been in that many different ways and having problems with it, like all of your pain points, we just ask enough questions, I can revert it all the way back to like, hey, what's the budget look like? And they're like, budget? What's that? I'm like, I think we found the problem, okay? So it's not that it's the most important thing, it's that it creates the most stability because inside of this pyramid back here, you will be working up and down that pyramid forever, right? Sometimes impact will be the priority. Sometimes operations will be the priority. Sometimes sales will be the priority. So this is not determining priority, it's determining stability. And this is when I figured something out. and I didn't know some of the basic numbers. And that's what we're gonna start talking about as far as, hey, what would it look like to double the business without having immediately have to jump onto the leads train, okay? Because this is really important. And nobody likes to have this conversation because it's like, hey, if I could just work out more, I'd be fitter. And when you tell them like, hey, mobility is probably important, you should sleep a little bit more, you eat like trash, and they're like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna train more. Right? You're like, oh, because it's fun. It's the sexy portion, but it fundamentally will not get you where you wanna go, right? That has a very low ceiling if you're gonna skip all the basics and all the things that need to happen. Now, this is the face that I give anybody when they say know your numbers because it lacks context. We talk about what are we talking about when we say you have to know your numbers. And it depends. What are we talking about, right? It depends on the topic. It depends on the component of the business that we're referring to. That will dictate what we mean by what we say when you know your numbers. What we're gonna talk about today is when we start looking at know the numbers specifically on the, let's go all the way out to the front end of the business, right? So like all the way out to the leads portion. So we are gonna talk about leads. When we say know your numbers, theoretically, I want you to kind of understand how this thing works. So I'm gonna give you two scenarios here. This is the tale of two affiliates. Affiliate 1, 12 leads per month, ACV, average client value, meaning that's the average amount of revenue that you're gonna take off of a client, $150 at 100 members. Affiliate 2, 15 leads, ACV of 150, 100 members, okay? So they're starting out almost identical. There's a slight bump in the leads from the first one to the second one, and we're gonna talk about why this is important. So that's essentially a 25% increase, roughly, in leads that we're looking at. So if we line this up, what this ends up looking like, so this is gym number 1, 12 leads, 7 of them they got in contact with. Show rate for those 7 that they got in contact with is 4. They converted 3 of those. They didn't get any referrals in that process, and they lose 4 people a month. And what this comes out to be, this gym on that month is gonna be net -1, meaning they shrunk in size. Does anybody have like a visceral reaction when they see that? They're like, is that my gym? Right? I've been this gym many times, by the way. Okay? So I'm gonna give you guys very real scenarios. We're not gonna make shit up and be like, well, if I just give you 100 leads, your gym is gonna grow. Well, no shit, that's not what we're talking about. In that scenario, when we ask the question, hey, how would I double the size of the business? Everybody goes to all the way to the left end of that spectrum. Like, well, if I just double the number of leads, everything else will double. And it's fundamentally not necessary. I'm not gonna say it's not true because that absolutely could work. It's not necessary, and they skipped over all the things that you would have to do to double your leads, all of the risks that you would have to take to double your leads. Is anybody here a Facebook ads guru? Okay, we've settled that. But how many of you have at least considered spending thousands of dollars a month to go run Facebook ads? I have. I'm gonna be the first. I'll put 2 hands up. Shit. Okay. You understand why that's risky? Right? I could outsource it, but fundamentally I'm abdicating my responsibility to understand that tactic in order to execute it correctly. 20%. 20% is how I actually double the size of the affiliate. If I go back and I look at this list here and I increase each one of those by 20%, this is how I double the business. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense when you understand how all of this works. So if we go from 12 to 15, I increase the number of people that I get in contact with via any number of tactics. I increase the show rate, I increase the conversion, I get a referral off of that, and I put a little attention into my cancellations or what my retention looks like. That goes from -1 on the month to +6 with 3 more leads. From -1 to +6 with 3 additional leads. We're not talking about small impact to the business, we're talking about monumental impact on the business. And you didn't have to do anything crazy in order to make that happen. So let's look at that scenario. Simply by making that change, and we're getting into what those look like, that first gym was doing about $180,000 a month. This gym, affiliate number 2, it's over $300,000 a month. Simply by making those changes. 3 additional leads and improving each one of those points in that process, you go from 180 to 309. Is anybody like, I don't like money? Right, you wouldn't be here. This is a perfect group. Like, you wouldn't be here if that's not what you were looking to do. Now, if we start to pull on some other levers, if I go to forward billing, that goes from 309 to 335. If I do a 10% price increase year over year, maybe that's year over year or not, maybe it's every 2 years. That's a contextualized question that needs to be asked. From now we're at 368, 500. Pass on credit card fees, now I've increased my profitability by $11,000 a year. Okay. With 3 additional leads. 180 to 370 with 3 additional leads. Now, this is where I'd like you guys to be honest with me. How many of you guys think of your strategy in those terms? I love it. So I've got 1, right? Yeah. And again, this is the point that I'm trying to make is you don't have to do super aggressive things on the front end. And I also want to be very clear. If you get to the point where you can get to running Facebook ads and you are crushing on conversion and your attention is good, I will be the first one in line to throw you a party. I'm not opposed to it. But again, using advanced tools before you're prepared to capitalize on them is the death of an immature business owner. And when I say immature, what I mean is not understanding simple concepts like this. And this is what I'm hoping the takeaway from this is. And this is what I'm hoping is this is like when a member comes into your gym and they're like, man, I think I got 8 hours of sleep last night and I feel great. And I'm like, I've been telling you this for 6 years, right? Right? Understanding that it's not always about putting more leads on the front end. It's about understanding where I can maximize my time, energy, and effort when I do engage with the business and the strategies that are going on. Okay? Just like somebody who's training, I'm like, you don't need to train anymore. I mean, you need to stop eating like shit and you need to sleep 2 more hours a night. You'll get way more out of that than the additional sessions that you're going to get in during the week. This is the same principle. And again, just to highlight that, that's significant. We're doubling the business at that point. Quite literally doubling the business simply by looking at how the numbers and how they work. And with only 3 more leads. And it's because this is how exponential growth works and this is how compounding works. This is why compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. Okay? Because left to right, that is how that works. If I do 20% at each touch point, it's not just 20%. It's 100% increase in the business if I figure out what is wrong with each one of those pieces. So when we look at that, and this is I'm sarcastic if you guys haven't figured that out, right? Because some of you who have been in this game for a while, you're like, thanks, math is a thing. How's that useful to me? Okay. Well, here's how we start to work with that. How do I fix that? And identify the key log. Is anybody familiar with the key log concept? Great, I get to teach you something. So in logging industries, this is more common, 50, 60, 70 years ago, when they would do logging exercises, or they would go and they do logging or forestry. A lot of times they would do it along rivers because that would actually speed up transportation, right? So they would go logging, they would cut down trees, and they would just dump them in the river. They'd be like, hey, we'll get them 40 miles downstream because that's actually where we need to pick them up. So they'd cut them down, and they'd dump them in the river. The problem is, what would happen is there would be a log jam, right? And they'd have to call one guy, and he's the key log guy. He'd walk out to the river, and he'd look in there, and he'd walk, and he'd stand there for a while and analyze, and be like, hey, we need to move that one right there. If we get that one out and move it, everything else will free up and start to move downstream. Because a lot of people are just like, we just got to start ripping all the logs out. You're like, no. There's one in there that will start to free up this log jam that we can start getting this thing flowing again. Because I don't want to have to go move 5,000 logs. I want to move one to get momentum so that I can start making changes. So when we go back to this list here, where is my log jam? This is how I start to figure out what is the key log. And when you guys are looking at this list right here, I've got leads, contacts, show, convert, referral, and cancellations. This is where you start to get really dangerous as a business owner because the answer is not all 6. All 6 might be broken, but I'm not going to go fix all 6 at the same time. Okay? You do one. You do one. And how do you figure that out? Here's where I'm gonna go looking at those numbers. This is me, having worked with hundreds of affiliates. I'm gonna go to the easiest one that gives me the biggest ROI. Meaning I had 4 people show up, only 3 of them converted. So when I'm looking at my logjam, in that particular logjam, it's conversion. What happened in that sales opportunity that I did not convert all 4 people? Because I'm going to give you some bad news. If they walk into your gym and they sit down in front of you, they should buy. If they do not, you messed it up. I'm just telling you, you messed it up. Something was delivered the wrong way, you didn't ask enough questions, a whole host of things could happen there. But if they did not buy, something went wrong in the sales process. Because people, by and large, know what it costs to purchase a CrossFit gym. They were not unaware when they showed up to the gym. And you're like, 150, you're like, oh, 150, holy shit, right? Like that doesn't happen anymore. Like everybody's pretty aware of what it costs, okay? So right there, this is my key log. This is my first key log. Like, hey, I need to improve conversion, right? We're talking to gym owners like, hey, why didn't they buy? And they're like, I just told them the price and they walked out. I'm like, well, tell me what you said. I'm like, why? I said it in this order. I'm like, okay, that's why. You said the price is in the wrong order, right? Or if I ask them, hey, who does most of the talking when you sit down and meet with this person? They're like, well, I tell them about everything that we do and all these other things. And I'm like, that's the problem. Telling is not selling. Okay? You should be asking questions. So if you understand this one thing about sales, the person asking the questions is in control. So I'm not telling them anything. I'm asking them a lot of questions, at which point they are giving me all of the answers. So if I can fix small things like that, this goes from 3 out of 4 converting to 4 out of 4 converting. And then I'm going to identify the next log jam, and I'm going to go address that one. If I look at my leads and my leads are 2 or 3, I might look at a number of things on the front end of that. I might take a look at their website. How are their forms built? You know, are they contacting every single person? You'd be shocked at the number of people who are not actually picking up the phone and calling people. There's no excuse not to have 100% contact in the leads that hit your website. You're like, it's a bot. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Call them. You don't know that? All right? Call them. Pick up the phone. Like, pick up the phone. I'm like, I know it's weird, right? Pick up the phone and call them. Okay? And this is the point, right? There are choke points in all of these, right? But identifying where you go starts to help you improve that whole end number down at the end. Right? You didn't get any referrals? Why not? Fundamentally didn't ask. And I'm like, let's just start there. Make a referral right out of the gate. Why? When people come in to join your gym, they're in a state of hyper-awareness. They want to know everything. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean we can disseminate the information in a sloppy fashion, but it does mean that they're open to a vast amount of information because they're in a fact-finding phase of that purchase. Give it to them. Hey, you can save $100 when you join the gym if you bring a friend. And they're like, oh shit, okay. Right? They're like, I'm gonna call my friend right now. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Right? Make the offer. Okay? And this is what we do for affiliates. This is what we do all day, every day. We're constantly tearing them apart and trying to find like what is the key log for that gym. And it could be in the sales process. It could be in developing your staff. It could be in communication, right? It could be in your systems and operations, right? It could be a number of things. And you're just going to continue to work through that cycle over and over and over and over. Okay? And that's what people struggle with. Because if I asked every single one of you, how many of you at any point or even currently struggle or stress out about what you should be spending your time and attention on, I'd be willing to bet that at least 80% of you would raise your hand, right? So if you're willing to share, raise your hand if that is a struggle for you at any point or time. Yeah, this is the point. By the way, that's not weird. You shouldn't be embarrassed by that. Fortune 500 companies go through the same thing. You don't think they have the same problems? It's the same thing, it's just much larger. But they're constantly like, where do we spend our time and attention? We have a limited amount of resources. Where do I need to direct those resources and to get maximum ROI? Okay? And if you misunderstand some of these concepts, many people will go all the way back to the front and be like, oh, I just need to put more leads in there. And I'm like, your churn rate is 9%. No, you don't need more leads. You can't keep the ones that you have. So this goes on and on and on. And just to highlight what we did there, Between the strategies that I gave you and look at those choke points, there are 9 levers that we've just walked through that you could pull on in order to improve the growth of your business. 9, right? Between fixing the 5 choke points and then adjusting prices, billing cycle, credit card fees, like all of these things are how you grow the business. And when you understand that, it's way less overwhelming because you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket, the leads basket, or I have to increase my price by 30%. You don't have to do that because that shit's risky. You don't have to do that. If I understand that there's 9 different dials that I can turn here to get where I want to go, I don't have to take it from 0 to 10. I can take all of them from 2 to 4. Because what I have to understand is there are people on the other end of those actions. Okay? And those people have a threshold for change. We have to be sensitive to that. Because if I turn the dial from 0 to 10, I've exceeded their threshold for change. And even if they're happy, they're going to get anxious about it and they're going to consider leaving. But if I take them all from 2 to 4, that works way better. And it's far less risky. Just to recap on kind of the stuff that we do for those of you guys that are not familiar with it. Again, we work with affiliates. We work with only affiliates. We do coach development and business development. We bring in your whole staff to work with them, to develop them, because service and actually being a great coach is really pivotal to what we do. It's what we believe in. It's where we all started and cut our teeth in the CrossFit world. And we do that with you and the staff in that process. Group, one-on-one, it's a myriad of contact points in there, but it's very, very high touch point. And we'll work with you until you get your money back, right? It's important to me, personally, and Marcus back there, that all of you are successful. I have no interest in just siphoning money off of the affiliate community. That's not good for anybody. I want you all to be successful. Okay, it's important. I've been in the CrossFit space for 17 years. I plan on being in it for another 17 years. And that means doing right by all of you guys. So that's our commitment to you guys. Awesome. I want to keep the timeline tight here because the next speaker is more important than I am. But thank you guys for your time. Marcus and Jay and I will be around all weekend. So if you guys want to chat, please come by, grab us, chat with us. We're willing to, happy to chat with you guys about quite literally anything that you guys want. If you guys want, you can use that QR code, set up a call. Marcus, can you raise your hand back there? Just so you guys know who Marcus is. He's right back there. But yeah, thank you guys very much. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys, and we'll be here all weekend. Thank you.